Well, hey, and welcome to another episode of Beatle Dustino. And oh, what a week it has been! Wow. All right. Us Beatles fans are every range of emotions right now. I think ecstatic, wore out, waiting for more, anticipating more. Yeah, I'm gonna just go through a little bit of the week so far, the week that has been now and then. I guess it's now, and we're going to talk about then, I guess. But before we do get started, I do want to thank all my subscribers and thanks to any new subscribers. And there's been a lot lately. It's been fun getting a video out every day, and it's been amazing watching how many views I've been getting. I love that this topic is so popular right now. I love that the world's coming together for the Beatles, and it's amazing. And so thank you to all the new subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And do hit the notification bell so you know when I got new videos coming out. Also, please give the video a like. It really does help out the channel. And do leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on now and then also. And I love having a discussion with everybody. But let's get on with this next video. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to get a video out, just kind of my overall view of the week so far, the week that has been now and then. Wow, I've been a little I don't know about it, and coming up to it, I think it's just I've been hoping it's going to be good, and well received, and well, all that, and I think my kind of trepidation has been proven wrong. I guess it has been well received. It definitely seems that way, just from what I'm gathering online, gathering with views on my videos, views on other channels' videos, comments I've been seeing on everybody's other YouTube Beatles channels, reactions. Seems like we're all right on about the same page, which is great. Just knowing every morning the past few days we've been waking up together or have been midway through our day, I suppose, depending upon what part of the world you are, and tuning in to listen to the new song or watch the new video or watch the documentary on Wednesday. And I'm just going to go through a bit of what's been going out, and I suppose all out shopping too. I forgot that one. All out shopping to try to find our copy of the single. I'm just going to kind of recap my reactions here. I don't feel my song reaction was great. My video I put out, I was in such a hurry on that, so I really apologize for that one. My other two videos, the one I didn't even watch before I post it, which I usually don't do. I usually will at least go through and say, yeah, that's that's worth putting out there for the world to see. That one I didn't even do. Yep, there it is. So, and that one, I've been, wow, surprised how emotional I got in it. And, I think a lot of us have been. And I think that's great that we can, all, shed a tear of joy over this. And yeah, it's been so fun. And just kind of a little brief history. And I know I've shared this before, but I came into the Beatles kind of in the early to mid 90s. I, got introduced to them through, I see it's laying here yet, so I guess I'll throw this out. The Boys to Men 2, I was really into these guys in the early 90s and, really was enjoying their music. And they put out this album, their second album, well, the third, really, but it's called 2. And the last track on there is Yesterday, the Beatles' Yesterday, John Lennon and McCartney written song. I was always told by my parents, that's a Beatles song, and it just, over time, I was like, well, I got to go check out these Beatles. I really like that song by them, and I got to hear what the Beatles sound like, because theirs is like an a cappella done thing, and it's really cool. If you haven't listened to it yet, please go listen to it. It's great. Yeah, I got into the Beatles, so this came out, I believe, 94, so there we go. So yeah, that's setting me up right for the anthology. So I got into the Beatles in 94. Now I know on CD, I had just missed the Red and the Blue album coming out on CD. And I remember seeing them in the stores when I was, going out shopping for, new Beatles CDs. And I remember seeing them in the stores, and they always seemed way too expensive for me. And I'm like, I want the albums. I don't want this compilation. I want the albums. If I'm going to put my money out, I want the album. So I always skipped on those. So I never got too into the Red and Blue album. And I am going to have another video probably out next Saturday, because I know I'm not going to have my physical copy of Red and Blue. So I'll probably have a video out next Saturday, kind of just talking my journey with Red and Blue. I kind of miss on that. I know I did 94, that was out. So right when I was getting into it, I happened to catch right on to Live at the BBC. I remember I did get that one. I did get that one right when it came out, and I remember buying it. It came out in November, so it's right around the time of my birthday. I probably had a little birthday money, and it was like, well, I'll splurge and get, the big 2 disc set and really enjoy. And I remember how just taken in I was with that. I loved the music on that. And I remember how many times I'd sit and just listen to it over and over and over and over again. Have my headphones on, my CD player, little portable CD player, and just sit and listen to that over and over again. Sit in my room on my stereo that was in my room, sit and listen to it. So really, Live at the BBC is what really got me into it. And then Anthology comes out that next year, so I'm really getting solidified into all of it. That mid '90s was a great period for Beatles fans too. And Anthology comes out, and we get the 2 new songs. We're getting 3 anthologies, but only 2 new songs. So I always thought, and I think I knew they were working on a third song, even without the internet, all that. I think there was enough word around that you could pick up on that there was supposed to be a third one, but it didn't happen. I think even the liner notes in Anthology 3 did say something to the effect of that, if I remember correct. So I always suspected there was another song, and it was so great getting to get into the Beatles, and Free as Bird came out, brand new Beatles song. Never imagine, I just learned about the band a few years ago. Not that I didn't know about them, of course, I did know songs by them and that, but, not so immersed in their music like I was at that point. It was so magical and special to be right in that time, becoming a fan of theirs and getting 2 new songs to enjoy too, to say, this is of my era, even though it was an old era, but it was 90s, 95 Paul and George and Ringo playing on a late 70s John Lennon demo. So, it was kind of, I felt like I had a little piece of the Beatles in my era. Now that I'm a well-established Beatles fan, so we've came to the conclusion 1994 is when I started. So, what are we looking at? About 29 years? 29 years on now, and I have been a solid Beatles fan for that whole 29 years. I've never let up on them. I would say at any given time in that span, that's probably the primary music I've been listening to is the Beatles. I've dabbled in other bands here and there, but I always go back to the Beatles, and it's usually a pretty quick go back to. A band that's always meant a lot to me, and here in 2023, finally that song from the 90s that should have happened, even that song coming from the 70s. So while the journey that song has had, I really feel like they've set us up on a great little journey the past few days, with everything that's been coming out for it. And the start obviously was the documentary on Wednesday. We got the little 12-minute documentary, and it's so perfectly timed out that it premiered at 2:30 my time, which is always when I start my lunch break. I work a later shift, so my lunch break is always at 2:30, and it just so happened to be premiering right at my lunch break. So I quickly got my phone out, got my headphones in, so I wasn't bugging everybody else in the office. I always eat my lunch at my desk anyway. I don't like getting out too much. It's quicker that way. You can get to it and get watching whatever you want to watch, if you want to watch TV or whatever. So got watching that right at 2:30, and just knowing, like I said, the rest of the world was all tuning in at that time, and to know that we're all enjoying this moment together. And I watched it again real quick, and I got my video out, went out into the parking lot at work and filmed it from the front seat of my car. Yeah, I just kind of want to go through a couple of things I said in there, and I want to get the quotes right because I was just off the top of my head trying to remember everything. One thing that really stood out to me was George talking about the computer stuff that Jeff Lynne was doing. And I got the quote totally wrong. So George said it'll open a whole lot of kettle of fish. And Paul quickly chimed in, can of worms, and then Ringo's quote I think was the best. But would it open another year's worth of work? I thought that was really good. But, you could tell George was a little not sure about technology like that, like AI type technology, which is something that everybody was kind of concerned about even with Now and Then. So I think that's really cool. They picked up on that little clip to put out there because the world was really buzzing about, AI is going to ruin the Beatles. And, well, it didn't. It made the Beatles better. because they're not faking anything here. There's no fakery. There's no trickery. Well, I guess it is a little bit of trickery, but they're just pulling John's true voice out of that, with the buzz from the tape and the piano that was being too loud onto the tape. And they're just pulling John's voice for that crystal clear. And speaking of which, and I'm getting a little emotional already just thinking about it, how crystal clear, and they were building and building in that documentary too, playing that over and over again you could hear the buzz, you could hear how loud the piano was drowning out his voice, and then all of a sudden it's just there, and John's voice was crystal clear. I think even Paul said it almost to that exact quote there. Yeah, you just get chills hearing it, just how perfect it is. This, beautiful person that hasn't been with us for so long, and for his voice to get pulled out like that. And that's one thing I caught in the lyrics of the song, even, that I really feel how John even was able. I mean, this is my interpretation of it. I don't know if John meant it this way. He probably definitely didn't mean it this way, but I think that I've got in my notes for the video part. So we'll get to that at that part. Another thing I caught in the documentary towards the end, Paul said, and I want to get the quote right, so I'm sorry I'm reading my notes here. Now and then, it's probably like the last Beatles song. Hence the probably there. It's probably like the last Beatles song. Everybody's kind of saying this is their good farewell and everything, and I don't think that there's anything else laying out there. I know people are always on about a couple other little things here and there, which I don't think we really need them. I think you know what I'm talking about with that. Off the top of my head, I can't think of the title right now. I know everybody wanted it on this one's anniversary thing, so now you'll definitely know. Yeah, I feel like there might be some more out there, and I think maybe the way that he said that is there's some live music stuff coming up. And that's something I am going to touch on too towards the end here, on the possibilities of what the Mal machine can do to make some of those live recordings that we've never got to enjoy a lot of live Beatles music because the screeching crowds and the equipment wasn't as good back then. But now I think they got some technology. If there are recordings, we can maybe pick out their instruments and their voices and make it a good sounding album. So, and to hear them live, wow, that would be so good, because they are a great live band, especially that early days when they were playing, the clubs in Hamburg and the Cavern Club and stuff like that, and getting their foot in the ground, establishing themselves as a band. And I think they were a great live band. Everything I've seen, that even with how terrible some of the recordings are, you can tell there's some brilliance in there. So that's something I'd really like to see. And, criticism on the song too, I know there's been a lot of, well, it's not really a Beatles song because it's just Paul and Ringo. Well, it's not. They all four played on it. Paul did quote this right in the documentary too, and we've all played on it, so it is a genuine Beatles recording. And, I think that's really kind of cool that, this many years later, they can come together. I'll do come together on that. There we go. And make a recording like that. Yeah, so the documentary was great. Next day we got the song, and I'm not going to go too deep into the song because I feel like the song and the video go so hand in hand, especially after seeing the video. I think the video really enhanced the song to the point, the song standalone, it's good. It's not going to be the greatest Beatles song ever. It's definitely not the worst. But when you see the video, especially if you see the documentary leading up to it, the making of, and then you hear the song, and then you see the video, and you get that whole full circle bit of the whole coming together of the song there again, come together. Yeah, the video is a masterpiece. And Peter Jackson, you definitely passed the audition. I love that with Paul on the intro. I don't know if everybody got to see that. I think that was just if you watched it right at the premiere time on YouTube or wherever it was streaming. There was a little Paul introduction, and that was one thing he talked about was Peter was a little worried that he had never done a music video before, and he wasn't sure if he could do one, and especially his first one's going to be the last Beatles song. So, that's a lot of pressure, I would imagine. Yeah, you passed the audition, Peter Jackson. You definitely did. Now, one thing I know I talked about in my video on it, on my initial reaction, was John was looking down towards the beginning, kind of like, it felt like a heavenly kind of silhouetted sunset looking out over like a bay or a body of water there of some sort. First, it's the image of the four Beatles, kind of their younger early days, and then it's current Paul comes and is looking right at John, and I love that line. It's all because of you, as he's looking right at him. That was just great. And as the video progresses, of course, we got, current Ringo and current Paul, and we've got 90s George, the 95 George in kind of his current, and then late 70s John in quite a bit too. I love the interaction that we do eventually get as the video progresses with their 60s selves. So the now and the then. And the first big one and the first big reveal on that was current Ringo, current Paul. And then it's zoomed in right just on them, and then it pulls back, and here's John on next to Paul and George next to Ringo, and it's so great. And I think the little footage of John that they used, I don't know if it was CGI stuff or if that was actually him from that original footage, but he's jumping and doing all this like, hey, look at me, hey, I'm here too. I think that was great. George was just being mellow and cool. But yeah, John being the goof that he is, I think that was just perfect to have him kind of this, hey, look at me, I'm here too, and I just love that part. There's another moment in there too, and Ringo's now back on the drums, and it's current Ringo again, and then it's that mid 60s John, and he looks over at him, and it's such a kind of a proud look that it seems like John's giving him, and I think that's a really great little moment there, and that one always stands out to me every time I've seen it, and I haven't heard too many people talk about that one. And then they show the four of them again in that same kind of from earlier. This time, instead of John doing all this jumping like, hey, look at me, he's doing this pointing, and it's right at the point where, so he's pointing at the other three, and it's right at the point of the song where it says, I miss you, and he's like, yep, I do, and that I thought was so cool too. Oh, God, so much of it. The other big part that I really liked, I loved from the documentary hearing about the orchestra that they hired to come in and do the strings on it, and all that, on how they convinced him it was a Paul McCartney song, that they couldn't let him know it was, the last Beatles song you're going to be playing on. And I love the footage in the video of that group of musicians getting to play. I think that's great, giving them their moment. But I also love that they put John in there doing his directing, and goofy John as John I think he was kind of a goofball like that. And I love that, and this song, it is sad, and to have so much fun and joy in it, even though it's sad, and it's the reflection of people that you've lost in your life and everything, and all that. And yet I've said this, I think, in almost every video I've made this week, that it's sad, yes, but it's also comforting and joyous at the same time. And I think that's just the magic of the Beatles right there, that it is comforting and joyous, yet it can be sad. So, and that's just, wow. Again, I'm getting teared up here talking about it again. And I've also got a cold, so it's all been in my sinuses. So if you hear me sniffling, yeah, that's yeah. John directing them. There was another point too in there where current Paul was sitting in the booth there with all the equipment and looking on to the orchestra. I believe he was sitting with Giles Martin, and there's a point where younger Paul and younger George are in the booth with them too, and there's the younger Paul is doing kind of the goofy stuff, like he's looking out at John in the room with the musicians, and kind of mocking what John's doing there, and kind of interacting. The two younger versions of themselves are interacting in this current time, and I think that was a cool little moment there too. And then it cuts back to, from Paul looking out at John looking back at Paul, and then it comes back to Paul and George with current George or current Paul. All right. And George starts doing his little goof too with the three of them, and that was a really fun moment too. The one line, like I said, I said I was going to come back to this. The one line in that song that it's so caught me every time on this. And if I make it through, it's all because of you. I feel like my interpretation of it, and knowing the story on how they made the song, having to figure out how to get his voice through the noise of the piano and through the noise of the buzz and the tape and all that. If I make it through, it's all because of you. And, I feel like it's almost John talking to Paul and George and Ringo, and that one day they're going to have to figure out how to get this out of there. And in the 90s, they gave it a try. They gave it their try. And they couldn't make it work then. And so now in 2023, Peter Jackson creating that mal technology to isolate that sound and pull it out and make its own track, so that way you can put it onto a proper track and lay other tracks over it to make a beautiful song and definitely a beautiful video. And I really, that line always strikes me. It's all because of you. And if I make it through, it's all because of you. And yeah, okay, yeah, I was reading my note there that I put. It wasn't a quote or anything, just kind of my thought. I wanted to make sure I had that written down. But yeah, Paul and Ringo, I'm going to say, keeping with it and trying to find a way to lift John's voice for us all to get one more moment with John. And, to the naysayers that are like, oh, this is just Paul trying to get, his name out there again. I don't think that is the case at all. I think this is a very much Paul trying to honor John. Not at all anything about himself. It's all about John and George too, because, George was working on it. And now, that's one thing too, is George supposedly, there's the whole, this is all just rubbish. I think he meant the recording was rubbish, not the song, the recording and what they had to work with, the tape. It was rubbish. And yeah, if you hear that bit with that buzz and how bad the piano drowned John's voice out, it was rubbish. I'm going to go with you on that too, George. I think that's why they scrapped it. I mean, I think they could have kept working on it, but, Paul said in that documentary, just the time, if they would have kept at it, it could have been, and maybe that's what that was about Ringo's thing, but would it open another year's worth of work? Just trying to pull that out. And, obviously there was a deadline. They knew they had the anthology documentary coming out. They had to have the albums accompanying it. So there was a deadline to where that single needed to be ready, and they knew they weren't going to hit it. So it got shelved. And I know several interviews Paul has talked about knowing that is sitting on the shelf and he wants to work on it at some point. And I love that he's finally got that chance. I think I said in my video reaction to the video, or my reaction, my post video reaction to the video. Wow. I said a thank you at the end there to Paul and Ringo and of course George and John, and we got to throw Peter Jackson, Giles Martin in there too, and Jeff Lynne. I think needs some thanks on this too, that they did get this out for the world, and at this time that the world is in right now with war and division and everything we got going on. I think the world needs to take a break and needs something like this just to bring us all together, and it's so beautiful that it is. And like I said, we've been sharing this moment every morning. I've been getting my video posted out. I've been trying my best to keep up with the comments to my videos and watch everybody else's videos that are coming out too. It's just really great seeing, like I said, how many of us are kind of on the same page with everything. And it's just been a wonderful time. And I'm so happy to be a Beatles fan, proud to be a Beatles fan. I've always been proud to be a Beatles fan, but right now I'm really there. Now, one thing I really hope for this record, for this song, I feel like it's going to be very high ranking on the charts, but I think it would be awesome if they could pull out another number one. All the singles have sold out. I'll get into this now on that. All the singles have sold out. The pre-orders all sold out. I went looking around at all the shops in my area that I could think of, and I couldn't find any of it. Target, I was hoping I was going to go there yesterday or Friday, I guess, score the red 12-inch, and my store didn't even get one in. I did get one ordered, so I got one coming. I don't know if my store will ever get one in, so I was just like, I'll just order it, get it sent to me, so that way I know I got it. And I know I've got a clear 7-inch version of it coming too. It says it's back ordered, so I don't know if I am going to get it. I did order the light blue also. Like I said, I'm a colored vinyl fan, so I'm going to feel terrible if I don't get the colored vinyl. And I did get the marble blue and white through the Beatles store, and that one I have got confirmed. It's shipped. It's on the way. Last I checked, it was sent in Tennessee. And I know that my red Target one is shipped too. So those two I know I've got coming. I've also got the CD coming all the way from the UK. I ordered it through Amazon.co.uk. I don't think it's really going to be readily available in the States. I know it is available now. A little update here. It is available now at the Beatles US store, but I have not seen it anywhere else. Not at Walmart, not at Target, not at your local record shop, not at Amazon, any of the usual suspects. It's not there. Now, I did go into my local record shop yesterday and talk to the guy there. I'm thinking they open right when my shift at work starts, so there was no way I was going to be able to pop in before work. So I was like, I'll just head over on my lunch break and see what I can see. If I missed it, I missed it. I guess that's all there is. I got copies coming. No big deal. Walked in, asked him right away. I'm like, do you got Now and Then? And he goes, nope, we don't got it. We don't got it. I said, oh, did you sell out? And he says, nope, we never got it. They never even got a copy. He said he's got an invoice showing that it's on the way. So I think like everybody else, it's back ordered, pre-ordered, back ordered. Eventually, I guess they'll have a copy. But yeah, so I really was hoping I would have someone to sit down and listen to, someone to physically show you here in this video, but unfortunately I don't. But that makes new videos coming out for the next week here as I'm getting my stuff in. I'll try. I don't know if I'm going to do a video as I get it, or if I'll just kind of do at the end of the week. I'll do a video of what all I've got so far up to that point. Now, of course, I did say like other possibilities of stuff they could do too. I was going to discuss towards the end here. One thing I'd like to see is some of their live recordings that we know of out there. Star Club is the main one, and Shea Stadium is the other one I always think of. Shea Stadium, I think, would be a great little package. Get the album out. We've never had a live at Shea Stadium album. Clean it up, make it sound great. Clean up the film, get a new film out there, the original film that came out in the 60s. I think that would be awesome to see. Get a Blu-ray copy of that, get your CD and vinyl copies of the album. I think that would be really cool, a new Beatles product. So please, if you're listening out there, this Beatles fan would like to see it, and I think I'm going to have several comments agreeing with me on that. I know the Star Club is another one that Peter Jackson's really a fan of. I know I've heard him in interviews already say he wants to work with those Star Club tapes. So I think that one is going to be a strong possibility. So I really hope at least those two, and I know there's more. I know there's more possibilities out there with situations like that, like live recordings that they got of them, to clean it up, make it sound fantastic, and get it out there. Even live at the Hollywood Bowl, I think could be another one that they could clean up yet even further and would be just amazing. I know they had 2 different years that they recorded that, so 2 different shows. So that'd be cool if they get, a 64 one and a 65 one. Instead of just the 2 kind of combined with the best of from the 2. Yeah, I feel like I do got to get wrapping up. I feel like this is going to get long, and I am going to try to keep this as unedited as I can. I think I am going to do a little chopping, but another update too I got to remember about is the Red and the Blue album. Once again, I don't think I'm going to have those on hand the day of, so next Friday. So, unfortunately, I'm probably not going to have Red and Blue out right away, but I will get those videos out as soon as I can. I do got the box sets. I got 2 different box sets coming. I got the box set with the 6 LPs and the colored vinyl, the red and the blue colored vinyl. And I also got the 4 CD little box set coming. I know those are the 2 I got pre-ordered. I don't think I'm going to get any other variations on that. That's going to be good for me on the red and the blue. But that's what I got coming on that. But like I said, I do not expect to see a video Friday or Saturday, next Friday or Saturday on it, or this coming Friday or Saturday, I should say. That's going to be down the road. So, yeah. So there's my little update. I just wanted to get that out there, kind of my take on this wonderful, wonderful Beatles week. And once again, to the Beatles, Paul, Ringo, George, and John, thank you so much. And I do got to throw out a thanks to Olivia Harrison and Donnie Harrison, and to Sean, and I'm sure Julian, even I'll throw in Yoko. Wow, how do I forget Yoko? Without all of them, this wouldn't happen either. So thank you all so much. It's just been a wonderful, wonderful past few days, bringing the world together and making grown men cry. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, thank you to my subscribers, especially all those new subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed yet, and you want to keep watching a grown man cry, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I got new videos coming out. Also, please give the video a like. It really does help out the channel. And if you've stuck around to this point, you must like it. So please give it a like. And do leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on the video, the documentary, the song. Let me know what copies you got, if you got them on day of, if you found them at your local shops. I want to hear your adventures too. Yeah, have a discussion with me. Let me know. But I am going to get signing out. I am Beetle Dustino signing out and crying again.